What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be reviewing a CBS mock draft. Now, because Brosmo dropped a really awesome mock draft today, I'm going to let him have the day in terms of mock drafts, so you guys can go check that out. I'll be dropping one tomorrow, and on Friday, I'll be continuing the 7-round mock draft series because there is a 90 to 95% chance that we get Sanjay on as the guy for the Raiders, because I was going to plan to do it after free agency, but he wanted to do it tomorrow, and you know what? I kind of want to get that ball rolling because we're going to be bringing a lot of people on, and if you guys have not checked on Twitter already, we're going to be doing pretty much a creator-only mock draft where each creator is going to be picking one pick for a certain team. So that's going to be really tough to coordinate, but we already have quite a few people on board. I'm super stoked for that, so stay tuned. A lot is in the works, but yes, I just wanted to give you guys a cool videos today. I am going to be continuing this as well for an extra round because you guys know me. I don't like scrolling and then just making money off of scrolling. I like to be able to put some action to it that you guys can go check out and be able to criticize as well. So let's just jump right into this. Starting off with the #1 overall pick. There's a bunch of BS before it, but you know that's what CBS does for you. Jalen Carter. So I had this trade. This thing did not have trades. So again, take that with a pinch of salt. If the Bears don't move out, Jalen Carter to me is the perfect answer. It's really dependent on the combine because he looked out of shape, and you know I wouldn't consider work ethic to be the issue because I also thought of Jordan Davis like that before the combine. It really depends on how he tests because I do think he should be testing similar to how Jordan Davis did, especially based on how he plays. He should be testing even better. So time will tell, but so far, as of now, Jalen Carter should be that #1 pick if it is not traded. Bryce Young at #2. I love Bryce Young. I'm not going to disagree with this at all. Of course, y'all know if there's no trades, I don't think I need to talk about Will Anderson at #3. DJ ended up doing Tyree Wilson here. Definitely not on board for that, but you know, you do you, boo. Pick #4, CJ Stroud. Again, I think that this is a perfect fit. You just roll the dice if he's there at #4. So yeah, CJ Stroud, good player, especially for a team like this, and I hope that Steichen can use his offensive ability, and especially in terms of his running style, hopefully he can unlock that a little bit more. Pick #5, Tyree Wilson. It seems to make sense. I just think that, you know, Will Levis fits the Waldron system so well that it doesn't really, like, it's just almost too good of a fit to ignore. And I know not many of you guys like that. Some of you guys have said shut the fuck up about it, and I understand that. It's not very fun being told every single week that, you know, you're getting somebody that you don't want, but sometimes the fit is the fit. He literally runs the Waldron system there at Kentucky, so it's a little bit tough to say, hey, we're not going to do this in a super deep edge class where I think you can get someone very, very similar to Tyree Wilson there at that pick. #6, Devon Witherspoon. I don't really have an issue with this. You guys see my board. Devon's #25 on it. You know, he's a really good player, and he has instant chemistry there with Kirby Joseph. I hopefully he gets that weight up. I do think that might be an issue in the long run, but minor one at that. I'm very excited to see how he tests because that could totally vault him up the boards because I think he is one of the best man corners in the class. Will Levis at #7. I've heard some pushback on in terms of me saying Will Levis is not a fit. I put it this way: the people who have the quarterbacks that have had success with McDaniels have been game managers, not like really the big play guys, not the gunslingers, the game managers. Garoppolo, Mac Jones, Tom Brady. So going after a playmaker after just cutting somebody that you had on contract that was a playmaker doesn't exactly line up as the best idea. So that's my take on it. I understand that Josh McDaniels might not be the long-term answer at coach, but you're kind of stuck with him. And I don't think Will Levis would get you as far as you were hoping for. If you want to go after a playmaker, maybe just go after a foundational piece like Joey Porter here and end up being happy getting someone like Caleb Williams, Drake May the next year. Again, there's no guarantee that those guys actually end up being as good as we think they are, but there's a strong inclination that they will be. Myles Murphy is next. I'm totally down for this. I really like him. If I'm not mistaken, I thought that prospect ranked number 16th was also Tyree. That interesting. All right. Well, apparently they have the exact same prospect and position rank. Maybe it's because they tied. I don't know. But Miles Murphy, to me, I think if he's on the board, is an excellent choice. He's really good at helping out in the run stuffing, but he also can bring a little bit of extra oomph in terms of pass rush. Just a lower ceiling than what I was hoping for when he was starting out as my number one player in the draft at the start of the year. AR-15, I love him with Frank Reich. You look at that completion percentage, not too bueno, but some of the high-end passes are a little too good to say, hey, we're going to give up on you. I think a lot of it was mechanics-based. We haven't really seen very good quarterback coaching there at Florida. Maybe they're good college quarterbacks, but we haven't seen them progress into the NFL. And Anthony Richardson looks like he's putting in a lot of work in the offseason. I don't doubt that he has a great motor either. So this is one of those ones where I might end up moving Anthony Richardson up my board into the top 10, not because of what I saw on tape, but because of how hard he's been working the offseason. And I think the mistakes he had were more mechanic-based than just processing. But so there was some of that was definitely processing-based, where I think it was against Kentucky, just randomly threw a pick six, and it should have never been thrown. It has nothing to do with the mechanics. That was definitely processing. Anyways, Joey Porter here. This is a top 10 that I honestly think I wouldn't be ashamed of making. I'm probably just wouldn't send Will Levis to the Raiders, but for a CBS mock, not too shabby at the start. Same thing with Peter Skoronski here. Obviously, I don't really need to talk about this too much. I love Joey Porter. He's there, number 2 on my board. I'm a really big fan of him, and I think he's going to be an absolute superstar wherever he goes. Skoronski, though, offensive line, definitely. If you can't get a QB, probably the best way to go. He probably will be kicked into guard, but you're still going to be getting probably a Pro Bowl, if not all pro level guard. I love Skoronski. I mean, hell, even with those limitations, he is number 6 on my board. Quentin Johnston is next. Again, very similar to a mock that I've done myself. I don't mind this at all. He had some struggles. Okay. I mean, players have bad games, and I think that's perfectly fine. Quentin Johnston's a great guy with great frame, and I honestly think he's going to do perfectly fine in the NFL. He has everything you're kind of looking for, and to me, he is my wide receiver 1. Paris Johnson Jr. is next. Another pick that I have made. He has right and left in terms of... wow, that's tough to say. He has played on the right and the left side. I was about to say right and left tackle versatility. He's never played right tackle. He's played on the right side at right guard, left tackle on the left side. I think that's perfectly fine to bring on. I would not rank him as my best tackle. I know a lot of people have him there. I have him as a second-round pick in terms of the overall value. Just not super high in Paris Johnson compared to other people. Christian Gonzalez to the Patriots. I said this. I'm not too high on Christian Gonzalez, but if he goes to Bill Belichick, he's going to kick some fucking ass. Michael Mayer, I always say this as well. I'm happy with the tight ends in round 2, although this draft kind of puts it on a little bit of a spin in terms of the tight ends in round 1. So maybe now that I know what's going to happen later in the mock, I would be a little bit more comfortable with this. But, I don't know. I like Brian Branch at this spot, but I can always get like a on sale Brian Branch in the next round. I'm warming up to this idea only in this version of the mock draft where there's some unrealistic tight end selections. Osiris Torrance is next. I have him kind of graded out as a second round pick as well. Not a huge fan of Osiris Torrance's bad reps, and he just is not very surprising to me. I could see him being a solid guard. I would not think of him as somebody who really breaks the bank in terms of just wanting to pay him a shit ton of money because he's a top tier offensive lineman. He doesn't have that type of talent in my eyes, and a lot of the failures remind me a lot of what Kenyon Green had last year. Broderick Jones is next. I love Broderick Jones, especially to the Steelers, because he can kick into guard as well. He had a really bad game versus Isaiah McGuire, and that's what got me in love with Isaiah. Still think Isaiah is an absolute freak, especially if he actually learns that you should probably train with good trainers. Don't really understand that. That definitely bummed me the hell out, but that's an issue for another time. But Broderick Jones, still a really, really good tackle. Very solid overall. Has his issues, but I do think they'd work out on the Steelers. Brian Breezy for the Lions, if he ends up going in the first round, this is one of the best locations for him. It's a spot where you can kind of just not have that high of an expectation because I don't think that defensive line or the interior is necessarily that good behind a Lee McNeil, because personally, I don't think Levi Onwuzurike is healthy enough to consider as a down-to-down guy. And then Brockers, it's fucking Michael Brockers. So Brian Breezy has that like ability to fail, but he also has that high upside where it's not going to be disappointing if he ends up just being like mediocre. You're not going to have a worse off team, I should rather say, if Brian Breezy doesn't fully reach his potential. Brian Branch is an amazing player. I don't mind him going here to Tampa Bay. Keely Ringo doesn't really fit the Pete Carroll thing to go a corner in round 1, especially since he just nabbed 2 round 5 or round 4 and 5 corners. And like it looks like they know how to evaluate deeper talent. I'd probably prefer to go away from that, especially since Ringo is not a guaranteed prospect. There are other players on the board that I'd probably be looking at. Offensive line, Anton Harrison can kick into guard. He also has left and right tackle versatility, so if somebody gets hurt, you have that there. I'm a big fan of going O-line regardless. I'm maybe not with Osiris Torrance off the board, but I still think that there's better options. You can also probably look to go after a wide receiver like Jackson Smith and Jigba, worst case scenario, because Dwayne Eskridge just hasn't been it. But that's a tricky spot to be in right there, to be fair. Jackson Smith and Jigba to the Chargers. I feel like his comp is closer to Keenan Allen, and I don't really know if I want to kick Keenan Allen out the door yet, but it does seem like a system fit. I just would worry that you're having a little bit of a lack of speed there in that receiving room. Jordan Addison, honestly, I'd switch the two personally. That's my thing, but I just don't like the idea of going after another Hollywood Brown after Hollywood Brown failed. It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. Emmanuel Forbes is a great pick. Y'all know how much I love Emmanuel Forbes. He's number 14 on my board. Big fan of Emmanuel Forbes. Dalton Kincaid, I'm pretty sure they're going to just tag Evan Ingram and go with it. I don't think Kincaid is going to be the primary target here. It's honestly a spot where the Jaguars don't need that much. I'd be going Anton Harrison here because you can put him at guard or tackle. He's 6'5" and under, so I do think that he's good enough. He's tall enough to be flexible in that role. Darnell Washington, this was the big one. Not a big fan of it. I don't think this team needs another tackle, essentially. And Darnell's a freaky player, but this team has enough needs to where also that meets up with the value that you don't need to go after a luxury pick. And I just don't really see this working with Dable's system. Whoa, what the hell? They have him ranked 9th? That's crazy. This is the first time I'm seeing this stuff. Again, Darnell Washington can be that good. It's just you're doing a coin toss onto whether he's going to be effective or absolutely useless in the NFL. He might end up having to become a tackle. We'll see what happens, though. I'm very excited to see how Darnell Washington's career pans out. Lucas Van Ness does feel like an edge that might work on the Cowboys because you do have some really good players there that can mentor him. I'm just not very high on Lucas Van Ness because he's a one-trick pony, but that type of power, sometimes you just can't teach it. So I understand he's an extremely poor man's version of Aiden Hutchinson, but you enjoy him. I would prefer to go a boundary corner myself. Or Bijan Robinson, because God only knows what's going to happen in that running back room. But if the Bills have him here, there is no doubt in my mind. Love seeing some Felix Love, obviously my number 10 player in the class. That's not been fully updated, but it is based off of this year's tape. I want to see a little bit more before I keep him in that top 10, but still an amazing, amazing player and very well balanced. So I definitely think that he should be going in the first round, probably not to the Bengals, especially if you have guys like Anton Harrison on the board. I'm going to continue pounding the table for him, who's my OT2. But, there's been much worse picks. I don't think this is a huge need in terms of being in the first round, but, definitely something you could address later on. Nolan Smith does not make sense at all. You're getting rid of, I think, a 265 to 280 pound edge rusher and replacing him with someone who's 235. Doesn't seem to fit. So please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there, but it does not seem to match up. Kalijah Cansey does feel like an Eagles type of guy, especially since Javon Hargrave is probably going to go to the Bears. Probably not in this mock, though. He'll end up going to the Cardinals or something. But Kalijah Cansey does seem like a guy where, if you believe the Milton Williams project is over, then probably a good way to restart. Hopefully he is 6 foot, though. If he's under 6 foot, might have some issues. Zay Flowers, and that is ending off the draft. I don't know if you're going to be really going after a guy like Zay Flowers. Kadarius Toney has that type of juice that Zay Flowers does. I don't really think you need another one of those, personally, that's my thing. I like Zay Flowers a lot. You see, he's 22 on my board. But with that, let's actually jump right into the continuation of this mock draft. The Steelers, at this point, I might just go another offensive lineman here with Anton Harrison. Still not going to be doing trades, but I do think our defensive backs need some form of help. And looking at the guys, I love Clark Phillips and Jalen Jones are incredible. I rewatched Jalen Jones. His only issue is that speed, and I think it's kind of commonplace among a lot of these corners. So I'm going to be going after Jalen Jones, someone who I think is an amazing scheme fit. I do have him there at 17 on my board. I reevaluated him, and he's still a phenomenal player. People just don't throw at him, so he's not very widely known. Pick number 33. So 2 offensive players. This is guaranteed to be a defensive player in my eyes. Although I would be intrigued with going Anton Harrison here because you do have someone who can replace Titus Howard or Laramie Tunsil. I think it's a smart move, but I'm going to try to be a little bit more realistic here because there's no way in hell that I'm going to see you guys pass on going a defensive position. I do think linebacker with Trenton Simpson, just too enticing for a former linebacker in D'Amico Ryans. Just somebody who's a freak athlete. I'm surprised people are so low on him now because he didn't do anything to worsen his stock. He improved. I don't understand that because I was originally lower on Trenton Simpson myself, and I'm giving him the credit now. So at pick number 34, Cardinals defensive interior would be a good move. I'm just going to project that Javon Hargrave comes to this team because obviously Gannon's here, and then you have Jalen Carter going to the Bears. Kind of makes sense. So another position I want to go after is corner. And I want to go someone who does know zone a little bit. I might be going after Deonte Banks here because I do think that he actually has some pretty good spatial awareness. Somebody who's rising up my board pretty significantly. I still have him graded below guys like Tyreek Stevenson and stuff. So I'm actually going to go with the higher upside in Tyreek. But I just want to throw Deonte in there because I usually crapped on his name. And he's not even close to as good as Dante Trader, who I think is an absolute freak. But I will give credit where credit is due. Deonte Banks he'll be in the NFL for sure. At pick number 35, I'm going to be going after an offensive lineman here. I'm going Anton Harrison, who can kick into guard. I think that I'd rather have a tackle that can play guard than a center who I'm moving to guard. Feel free to argue with me there, but I think that the value is a lot better, especially when injuries start coming in. Pick number 36, we have not addressed offensive line yet. We went Keely Ringo. The Seahawks went Keely Ringo as well as Tyree Wilson. And I think John Michael Schmitz, Luke Whippler, both of them are very solid options. You feel free to choose whichever one you want. The Rams, we're speeding through this because, again, there's a lot of players who I really want to get off the board here because they're really damn good. And B.J. Ojolari is light enough. I think Will McDonald actually fits really well. He's about 240 pounds, and you guys are trying to trade for someone like Brian Burns. I think this is a good fit for him in terms of that size, speed, and length ability. Pick number 38 for the Raiders. So went Will Levis in the first. I want to go after a DB, if possible. And I got Deonte Banks here. I think that he's a very solid corner. I don't know if I like Cam Smith at a 4.5 speed as much, but I mean, I don't really like him that much. So I'm actually going to be rocking with Deonte Banks here, which is a big surprise because I've actually been one of those guys, again, who's criticized those Deonte Banks hype, the Deonte Banks hype train. It's just he's not as good as Dante Trader, but Maryland knows what the hell they're doing in terms of their DBs. I'll tell you that. Pick number 39. So for the Falcons, went after an edge rusher in round 1. I think corner should be a good spot in round 2. I think that's a bigger need than you guys are saying it is. Now, you could go running back here. I know that there's all those truthers out there of, I'm tripping balls, Tyler Algier, but I don't really think it's that big of a deal in my opinion. But wide receiver also could be an amazing move here. You could go Keyshawn Butte. You could go Josh Downs, Tank Adele, Jalen Hyatt, Jaden Reed even could sneak into this consideration. But I really like Jalen Hyatt. I think he'd be an amazing compliment. However, I did know Drake London was really, really effective with Amon-Ra St. Brown there. And I'm going to get you your Amon-Ra St. Brown here with Josh Downs. I think that would be a really nice pairing for them to have. Pick number 40 for the Panthers. AR-15 was in round 1. Edge rusher is the thing in round number 2. And I'm going BJ freaking Ojolari. I love him to death. big fan of B.J. Ojulari, a top 10 player on my board, and definitely someone who's due for an update as well. Pick number 41 for the Saints went after an edge rusher in round 1. Am I mistaken? Yeah, you went after Nolan Smith. Again, I don't think that's what you really need to go after, but going after a run-stuffing defensive interior is what you guys are clamming for. Mozzie Smith is the best possible guy for that role. Pick number 42 for the Titans went after a tackle in round 1. I'm going to be going after a wide receiver in round 2. You can debate which one you like more. I like Jalen Hyatt more than Tank Dell, mainly due to Tank Dell being like 160. It's tough. It's tough. And I do think Tank doesn't have the deep threat ability that Jalen does. I've seen Tank in person. I like Tank a lot. I'm not going to try to crap on Tank Dell. I just think Jalen Hyatt's a little bit more all around because he also has really good hands. You know, I don't know, there's more upside to him. Also, he's in Tennessee, so it seems to make sense. I have also forgotten about the fact that one of my favorite tackles is on the board. But, yeah, I mean, that's just because I'm so used to him being gone. Darnell Wright, DeJuan Jones still here. But things do happen in the draft. Darnell does have a lot of issues. DeJuan has had a lot of issues on tape as well. I don't think it would be crazy to see them fall this far. But for the Browns, they don't really need much. This actually might be where Tank Dell goes. I love that route running ability that you can have there with Amari Cooper. Pick number 44. Do I just go tackle again? I mean, hell, you can go Paris Johnson and Darnell Wright, the two most athletic tackles in this draft. That'd be pretty awesome. But instead, I'm going to be going after a linebacker here who I love. My linebacker 1 in Drew Sanders coming in to help in that Robert Saleh defense. Pick number 45, another team that's desperate for some linebacker help. I'm looking at Jack Campbell here, but I do have to have some pause because I do think Darnell Wright would be a great Patriot. And he was also at the Senior Bowl. Y'all already know Bill Belichick loves the Senior Bowl players. So Darnell Wright is going back-to-back drafts in the first 2 rounds with a guy from the Senior Bowl in the offensive line. Pick number 46. This honestly could be DeJuan Jones. I'm going to be honest. I would not mind DeJuan Jones here, but we went after tight end in the first. I think an edge rusher is due. And I actually might go after Tuli Tuipulotu, but we'll go Keon White, who's picking up a lot of speed, a lot of hype. That's what I was trying to say. You know, somebody who's getting first round hype, don't think he's that good, but you know, he is somebody who's going to be a day 1 guy. He can kick to the inside, especially when Rashawn Gary comes back. I'm intrigued to see what happens with those physical tools. Pick number 47, offensive guard was the move in round 1. I think linebacker might be the move in round 2, but I think I'm going to check out these DBs, and I'm going to go after Eli Ricks. I do love that fit. Someone who I think I might have sent to Washington at the start of the year. But anyways, the Steelers are back, went after a corner and a tackle. Now, I mean, I think I actually might just go back to the tackle. We're actually going to go and draft DeJuan Jones. We're kind of giving a middle finger to anybody in the division who would have tried to get him. You're getting 2 offensive tackles. You can also kick in Broderick to guard. I think that'd be a smart move for the short run. DeJuan's something more of a project, so I'm very excited to see how DeJuan would fit on the Steelers offense. Pick number 49. I'm actually going to look at an offensive guard here, and I'm going to actually move Luke Whippler to guard. I think that's a smart thing to do. Linebacker, yeah, probably should have gone that route, but I think shoring up the offensive line is a little bit more important because I do think that the offense is going to be the focal point of this team. Pick number 50 for the Buccaneers. I want to just check really quick. I know we went after defensive tackle. I think we also went after a corner, so that's fine. We've already went 2 defensive positions. We can go after a center here as well. Pick number 50, though. Tight end's going to be the way to go. It is. And Sam Laporta, Luke Musgrave, you choose between them. I'm going to go for the more speedy guy, even though he technically isn't higher. Well, he actually is higher than Sam Laporta. I just have 4 tight ends tied at one spot. I think they're all great. Pick number 51. Luke Whippler would have definitely been on a short list of guys here because I do think center and guard are open for me to draft. But yeah, John Michael Schmitz was our previous pick. Antonio Johnson's really appealing to me here, and I think I might be going that route. I know that you guys don't need a safety necessarily, but I do think he can fit in the box really well. That being said, I am sorry to the Lions fans here, but Jack Campbell not too bad. I'm going to be going after Jack Campbell here. I really like Jack Campbell. Pick number 52 for the Chargers went after Jackson Smith and Jigba in the first round. It's too bad we do not have a right tackle here anymore. Thank you to my Steelers for doing that. Now, other positions of note, I think defensive interior with Keanu Benton would not be bad remotely. There are rumors that edge rusher is going to open with a Khalil Mack cut. If that's the case, I would not mind seeing Tuli Tuipulotu step in. He is actually really damn good for his size. Definitely someone who's going to be moving up my board when his full eval is out. Pick number 53, a boundary corner, because I think Byron Jones might get cut, is due. And we all know Syracuse DBs are very popular there in Miami. I love Garrett Williams. If he did not have an ACL tear, he'd be a top 15 pick for me. Pick number 54 for the Bears. Edge rusher, still probably one of the positions I want to go after. Offensive line-wise, I want to see who is still here. I don't think interior offensive line needs to be the priority, although I do have some really good guys who are still left. Matt Bergeron would be intriguing, but there is a rumor that Mike McGlinchey is going to be the dude that you guys target for O-line. And if that is the case, I'm actually going to go a running back here. And that running back is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. You're going to just try to totally change it up, get some extra speed there. Jahmyr Gibbs as well as Justin Fields. That speed is going to be insane. Pick number 55, a spot where Jahmyr Gibbs would have been a very good player to bring in. Linebacker-wise, I don't really see much that's worth it at this point. You have like Noah Sewell. I would not take him in the second. I would not take Dian Henley. And the people who are randomly coming to my DMs talking about Dian Henley, just please actually watch Dian Henley before hearing what other people's opinions are. That's all I ask. But for me, I actually might go Antonio Johnson here to be that third safety / linebacker. I think the value is a little bit too good, and you get to save some money when Tracy Walker walks. No pun intended. But Antonio Johnson is just a little too good. I would love to just sit him in there at linebacker. Pick number 56. So I went a tight end in the first round. I want to go after a DB here. And I'm going to be going Clark Phillips, who I am absolutely in love with. Big fan of Clark Phillips. Pick 57 here for New York Giants. Tight end was the move in round 1. I'm going to go after a DB in round number 2. Cam Smith's here. I guess that's the right thing to do. He's just too slow. I think that Wink Martindale, though, can make it work. So he does feel like someone that would be a good Raven, and the idea of a Raven actually lives through me going basically back to Wink Martindale. So it does make sense. Pick number 58 for the Cowboys. Wide receiver, definitely on the board. Offensive line also in there. I would love to go after someone like Olusegun Oluwatimi, but it's not a big necessity. I'm going to go boundary corner here. Oh, man, I really just totally wiped out the board, didn't I? Guys who could be here, Julius Brents and DJ Turner. I would not count them out of sneaking into the second round. But if I were to go after another position, I mean, let's just go wide receiver here, man. And, looking at the guys who are the best, we can deal with some personality concerns. Let's go after a different LSU receiver than OBJ with Kayshon Boutte. Pick number 59, offensive line is my number one thing to address. And you got guys like Voorhees and Olusegun here. Both have their own issues, both have their own strengths. I'm going to go with my number 31 player in the class, Olusegun Oluwatimi. Pick number 60 for the Bengals. Tight end Sam Laporte is here, but I do think that you guys are going to re-sign to Hayden Hurst. So to change things up a little bit, I will allow that to be the case. And you went edge rusher before. Linebacker with Dian Henley. Running back's honestly the secret move here. And I think Zach Charbonnet would be kind of the better version of Samaje Perine. Pick number 61. So we went edge rusher. We went quarterback already. Boundary corner, again, would not be a bad move. It just depends on who you like. I think Julius Brents would be a stud in this team. But maybe in the third round if we're trying to be more realistic here. Running back is something I think would be great. And Devon Achane, man, I would love to see that type of speed. And obviously Frank Reich was with Jonathan Taylor for so long. I could totally see having a star running back like Devon Achane be a great fit. The Eagles went after Joey Porter as well as, why am I tripping up on his name? Kalijah Cansey there in the first. Kind of two ideal picks for you guys. Now, the other pick maybe that I would consider here is a running back, but kind of took off two of the dudes who I would consider. You could go after a wide receiver 3 with Jaden Reed, and I would really like that myself. But I'm going to go after an edge rusher here because besides the guys that you have already, you pretty much have one edge rusher that's not BG, that's on contract for more than a year. Andre Carter feels like a guy who'd be a great fit. Isaiah McGuire, both guys who have a lot of potential. So I'll show a little bit of love to our military there with Andre Carter. And last but not least, the Kansas City Chiefs. What did you do? Zay Flowers to end off that draft. Let's fix it. Let's make things right. I'm going to go after Keanu Benton, who I'm a huge fan of right now. So that is going to be the draft, everybody. Let me know what you guys think. I want to thank you guys so much for supporting me as always. See you on the far side. Peace.